40,000 people. Sold out. The Bad World Tour at its peak. Michael Jackson was performing Human Nature, a song about longing, about watching someone from a distance, about wanting connection. He'd done this song hundreds of times. Knew every note, every move, every moment where crowd typically reacted. But tonight, something was different. September 7th, 1987, 9:17 p.m. Tokyo Dome, Tokyo, Japan. During the bridge, Michael scanned the crowd, not looking at anyone, just taking the energy, the sea of faces, the collective adoration. His eyes caught on section 214, row 12, seat 8. A woman, Japanese, maybe late 20s, not screaming, not smiling, not holding up a sign, just crying, silent tears, watching him with an expression that made his breath catch. Michael's voice wavered. Just for a second. The band didn't notice. The crowd didn't hear it. But Michael felt it, because he knew that face. The woman in section 214, row 12, seat 8 was Naomi Kimura, the woman he was going to marry, the woman who disappeared 2 years ago without explanation, the woman he'd tried to forget and failed every single day since. His hand missed a cue. His choreography faltered. His backup dancers glanced at each other. Michael never missed cues. From the wings, his manager noticed. Something's wrong. Michael's off. The musical director. He's hitting the notes, but his eyes... They followed his gaze. Saw nothing unusual. Just 40,000 fans. But Michael saw one face. One woman. The only woman who ever made him believe he could have a normal life. If you are enjoying this story, please subscribe to support the channel. 2 years earlier, November 1985. Kyoto, Japan. Michael Jackson, 26 years old, was in Japan for promotional appearances. His handlers kept him on a brutal schedule. Interviews, photo shoots, fan events, no rest, no privacy. On November 12, 1985, Michael gave his security the slip. Just walked out a back exit of his hotel at 11 p.m., wore a surgical mask, sunglasses, hat, disappeared into Kyoto's nighttime streets. He wandered into a small jazz cafe. Nearly empty. A woman was playing piano. Traditional Japanese melody blended with jazz progressions. Beautiful. Unexpected. She didn't recognize him. Or if she did, she didn't care. He sat. Ordered tea. Listened. When she finished, he applauded. She bowed slightly, noticed him. "You like jazz?" she asked in English. "I like how you play it," Michael said. They talked for 3 hours. About music, about Kyoto, about nothing and everything. Michael didn't tell her who he was. She didn't ask. When he left at 2 a.m., he said, "Can I come back tomorrow?" "If you want," she said. Small smile. For the next 6 days, Michael disappeared every night. His security was frantic. His manager was furious. But Michael didn't care. He went to Naomi's cafe. They talked. She played piano. He told her about music, about performing, about feeling trapped. On the 6th night, November 18th, she asked, "You're Michael Jackson, aren't you?" He froze. "How long have you known?" "Since the 2nd night. I saw your photo in a newspaper." "Why didn't you say anything?" "Because you didn't want me to." She knew who he was, and she treated him exactly the same anyway. Not impressed, not intimidated, not trying to get something from him. Just present, real, human. November 19th, 1985. Michael's last night in Kyoto. They were in Naomi's small apartment. She was making tea. Michael was sitting on her floor, feeling more at peace than he had in years. "Naomi, can you imagine? Could you ever see yourself with someone like me? Not Michael Jackson. Just me." She kissed him. Gentle. Real. "I already see you that way," she said. "Michael, I'm going back to America tomorrow, but I'm coming back in 6 months. And I want to see if this could be real. If we could be real." They spent that last night together. Not physically, but emotionally. Talking until dawn. Making promises. Imagining impossible futures. Michael left Japan on November 20th, 1985. For the next 4 months, They wrote letters, real letters, handwritten, mailed. Michael, for the first time in his adult life, had something private, something his father didn't know about, something the press couldn't touch. He was planning to return to Japan in April 1986, planning to spend real time with Naomi, planning to see if this crazy, impossible thing could work. March 15, 1986. Michael received a letter from Naomi. Short, 3 sentences. Michael, I can't do this. I'm sorry. Please don't contact me again. Naomi, that's it. No explanation. No phone call. No closure. Michael called her apartment. Number disconnected. He sent letters to her cafe. Returned unopened. She was gone. Vanished. Michael, 27 years old, learned a devastating lesson. Even when you find something real, even when you think someone sees you for who you are, they still leave. And he spent the next 18 months believing he wasn't enough. Now, September 7th, 1987, Naomi Kimura was sitting in Section 214, Row 12, Seat 8 of the Tokyo Dome. And Michael Jackson had just seen her face in a crowd of 40,000. Human nature ended. 40,000 people erupted in applause. Michael bowed mechanically, waved, backed off stage. The moment he was in the wings. I need to find someone. Section 214, Row 12. There's a woman. I need security to bring her backstage. His manager, Michael, you can't just pull random fans. She's not a fan. His voice was sharp, desperate. Her name is Naomi Kimura. Find her. Bring her to my dressing room. Now. Michael had a 12-minute break before Beat It. He was supposed to change costumes, hydrate, prepare. Instead, he paced his dressing room like a caged animal. Why is she here? Why now, after 18 months of silence? 11 minutes after Human Nature ended, Naomi was escorted into Michael's dressing room. Security left them alone. Michael and Naomi stood 6 feet apart. Hadn't seen each other in 22 months. Silence. 10 seconds. 15. Why are you here? Michael asked. Naomi looked different. Thinner. Older. Tired. I needed to see you, she said quietly. I needed to tell you something before it's too late. Before what? Before I die. Michael, anger rising. Too late for what, Naomi? You ended things. You disappeared. I spent 18 months thinking I did something wrong. You didn't do anything wrong. Then why did you leave? Naomi took a breath. Because I was pregnant. Silence. Michael's world stopped. I found out 3 days after you left Japan in November 1985. I was pregnant with your child. Michael couldn't speak, could barely breathe, and I knew what that would mean for you. The scandal, the press, your career, everything would explode. So I decided to handle it myself. To protect you. Protect me from what? Naomi, that was my... I know, she said, crying now. I know, but I thought I was strong enough to handle it alone. I was going to have the baby, raise it myself, never tell you. Pause. But 3 days after I sent you that letter, March 18th, 1986, I had a miscarriage. Michael's legs almost gave out. He sat down hard. I lost a baby at 14 weeks. Alone, in a hospital in Osaka, where no one knew who I was. Naomi, why didn't you tell me? I could have been there. Could have what, Michael? Flown to Japan while you were recording? Left your entire life to be with me? For a pregnancy that ended 3 days after I told you to stay away. She was crying harder now. I made a decision to protect you, and then the universe made that decision meaningless. I've been living with that for 18 months, knowing I pushed you away for nothing, knowing our baby died and you never even knew it existed. You should have told me. I know. That's why I'm here. Because I'm dying. Another blow. I have ovarian cancer. Stage 4. Diagnosed 6 months ago. Maybe 3 months left. And I couldn't die without telling you the truth. Without letting you grieve something you never got to grieve. Someone knocked. Michael, we need you for Beat It. I can't, Michael said, voice breaking. His manager, through the door, Michael, There are 40,000 people. I know. Louder than he'd ever been. I know. Just give me 5 minutes. Michael looked at Naomi. You were pregnant. You lost our baby. You're dying. And you came to a concert? Why tonight? Because I needed to see you being Michael Jackson. I needed to remember why I made the choice I made. What choice? To let you go, to let you be this. She gestured toward the stage. Our baby. If it had lived, Michael, you would have given all this up. You would have tried to be a father. You would have destroyed yourself trying to be normal for me. I didn't want that for you. I didn't want to be the reason you stopped being what you're meant to be. Michael stood, angry. You don't get to make that decision for me. You don't get to decide what I'm meant to be. Maybe what I'm meant to be is a father. And maybe that's true, Naomi said quietly. But you'll never know now, because I took that choice away from you. And I'm sorry. If you had told me then, what would have happened? I think you would have come to Japan. I think you would have tried to make it work. I think the press would have found out. I think it would have destroyed both of us. Or maybe it would have saved both of us. We'll never know. Michael sat down, exhausted. For 18 months, I thought you left because I wasn't enough, because loving me was too hard. And I've spent that time believing I'm meant to be alone. Michael, every woman since you, I've compared them to what I thought we had, to those 6 days in Kyoto when I felt like a human being instead of a product. He looked at her. And now you're telling me you love me enough to push me away, that you were pregnant and chose to suffer alone, that you're dying and came here to give me closure. Pause. How am I supposed to go back on that stage and perform like none of this happened? Because that's who you are. You perform through the pain. You've been doing it your whole life. I don't want it anymore. I know, but 40,000 people are out there waiting. 2 minutes until Michael was due on stage. I need to ask you something, Naomi said. Stay, after the concert. I'm in Tokyo for 3 more days before I go back to Osaka for hospice. Spend those 3 days with me, as the person you were in Kyoto, as the father of the child we lost. If I say yes, what happens in 3 days? I go to hospice. You go back to your life. We say goodbye properly this time. Someone pounded on the door. Michael, now. Michael looked at Naomi, at the woman he almost married, at the mother of the child he never met. I'll do it, he said, but I need to finish this concert first. I'll wait, Naomi said. I've gotten good at waiting. Michael walked back on stage for Beat It. 40,000 people screamed, but something was different. Anyone who knew Michael's performances could see it. He wasn't performing. He was exorcising. Every move was sharper. Every note was rawer, because he wasn't performing for 40,000 people. He was performing for one, for Naomi, for their lost child, for the 18 months of grief he was never allowed to feel. The band noticed. What happened during the break? I don't know, but he's on fire. Naomi watched from the wings. She saw what 40,000 people couldn't see. Michael was breaking apart and holding himself together simultaneously. This is what she gave up. This is what she protected. And she wasn't sure anymore if she made the right choice. September 10th, 1987. 3 days later. Michael Jackson missed a scheduled flight to Osaka. His team was frantic. Press was speculating. But Michael was in a small apartment in Kyoto with Naomi Kimura. They didn't talk about cancer. They didn't talk about the miscarriage. They pretended. They lived in an alternate timeline. They went to her jazz cafe. She played piano. He sang quietly, just for her. They cooked together, walked through temples, sat in silence. They grieved together, not with words, with presence. On the 3rd day, Naomi said, "You need to go back now." "I don't want to." "I know, but this isn't your life. This is a dream, and we both need to wake up." "Will I see you again?" "No," she said gently. This was goodbye, a proper one this time. Michael left on September 11th, 1987. Naomi Kimura died on November 3rd, 1987. Ovarian cancer. Surrounded by family who never knew about Michael Jackson, or the pregnancy, or the miscarriage, Michael learned of her death 3 weeks later. A letter from her sister, who found his address in Naomi's belongings. The letter included a photograph. Naomi, November 1985, barely showing at 10 weeks pregnant, smiling, alone, hopeful, on the back. From Michael, if he ever needs to know this was real. N. June 2009, 22 years after Naomi's death. Michael Jackson, 50 years old, was preparing for This Is It rehearsals. He kept Naomi's photograph in his wallet. Always had. No one knew about it. Not his family. Not his children. Not his handlers. Just Michael. And a woman who died 22 years ago. And a child who never was. In his final interview, someone asked, "Do you have any regrets, Michael?" Long pause. "I regret not being braver. I regret letting someone I loved carry grief alone. I regret that I spent my whole life performing instead of living. What would you change? I would have been a father, even if it was hard, even if it meant giving up some of this. Would it have been worth it? I'll never know. That's a regret." 40,000 people cheered. But Michael Jackson was focused on one face. The face of the woman who loved him enough to let him go. The face of the mother of his child who never was. The face that taught him the cruelest truth. Sometimes the people who love you most are the ones who leave to protect you from choosing between them and your destiny. And sometimes you spend the rest of your life wishing they'd been selfish enough to make you choose. Because maybe, just maybe, you would have chosen differently. And maybe that would have been enough. If you like this story, please subscribe to support this channel.